Alright, so let's talk about fractions. I know a lot of us hate these, and hate's a strong word for fractions. What'd they ever do to you guys? So, the main thing you need to know about fractions, and most of you do already know this, but you need a common denominator, which is the bottom number. So in this case, our denominators are sevens. Since we already have common denominators, this is easy. We simply leave our bottom number a 7, and you just simply then do your two top numbers. 4 plus 2, which is 6. 6/7 would be your final answer. So once again, we want to look. We have common denominators, 13 and a 13. And also on this particular problem, we do have two negative numbers. So the numerators are both negative, and we are adding. So with that, we will have to know our denominator will be a 13. And all we're going to simply do now is add our two top numbers, the absolute values. So this is -3 plus -2. That's the same thing as saying 3 plus 2, which is 5. And since they're both negative, we will also put our answer as a negative. -5/13 would be your final answer. Next one. So this one's a little bit trickier. And the reason being is we have different denominators, first off. And secondly, the first fraction is negative, and the second one is positive. So the first thing we have to do is we have to get common denominators. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make two little fraction bars there with our negative sign. And what I want to say is, what number does 11 and 5 both go into? The easiest way to do this is just to do 11 times 5, which you'll get 55. So our common denominator will be 55. Now, here's where a lot of students get tricked up. If I say 11 times 5 is 55, 1 times 5 is 5. Another one. If 5 times 11 is 55, then 4 times 11 is 44. So if you need to stop and rewind there, go ahead and do that, because that's where a lot of people get mixed up. Oops. All right, so let's continue this problem. So our denominator is going to be a 55. And now it's simply, we're just looking at -5 plus 44. So let's go back to our absolute value rules. Absolute value of -5 is just a 5. Absolute value of 44 is just 44. When we're adding negatives, that's really subtracting. 44 minus 5, so that's a 14. That's a 3. 14 minus 5 is 9. Bring down the 3. So we have 39. But the bigger absolute value is positive, so it will remain positive. So we always have to double check for that. 39 over 55 is your answer. Alright, for this problem, we have different denominators once again. So we have to figure out what denominator we want to use. So the best way to do this is to say 13, whoops, let me get the marker, 13 times 3 is 39. So our denominator is going to be a 39. I put a plus, and I'm recopying everything. Now, we need to change our top numbers. So, if 13 times 3 is 39, 9 times 3 would be 27. If 3 times 13 is 39, -2 times 13 is -26. So again, if you need to stop and rewind there, that's where a lot of you are getting mixed up. Go ahead and do that. Also, if you notice, everything I have in green, so this fraction right here, 27 over 39, if we were to reduce that, we would get 9 over 13. So you're really just unsimplifying in a way. You want to think of it like that. So with our answer, our denominator will be 39. We do have different signs. One's negative, one's positive. So this is really subtracting. The bigger absolute value minus the smaller absolute value is just 1. And since we look back to our signs, the positive number had the bigger absolute value, so that is what we will leave our answer as. We'll leave it as positive. So 1/39 is your answer, and that does not reduce. For the final problem, this one's tricky because we have 3 fractions. So we first just want to focus on the first 2. Let's ignore the 1/2 completely. We need common denominators, so I'm going to do that. We're going to say 8 times 5 is 40. And I recopy everything. I even put the negative signs. So now we say 5 times 8 is 40. So negative 1 times 8 is negative 8. 8 times 5 is 40. So negative 3 times 5 is negative 15. Now, this is really nice because they're both negative signed numbers. We have negative and a negative. So if we use absolute values, we just have to add up those numbers. So 15 plus 8 is 3, carry the 1, 23. And since both numbers are negative, we will leave a negative. So I'm going to take this answer and I'm going to put it below. So negative 23 over 40. And this is where our 1/2 is going to come into play. So now we have to look at our common denominators here. We have a 40 and we have a 2. Now some would say let's do 40 times 2 and get 80. You can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. However, 2 goes into 40. So therefore I'm going to use 40 as my common denominator. So I'm going to put negative 23 over 40 plus 20 over 40. And I can do that because I can say 2 times 20 is 40, so 1 times 20 is 20. Another way to think about it is, what's just half of 40? Well, it's 20, so therefore you can easily convert that. Our denominator is a 40. Our signs are different, so we're actually going to subtract. So I'm going to do it up top here. So we're going to do 23 minus 20, and that will give us a 3. So I know it's going to be a 3, and because the bigger absolute value is negative, our sign is going to be negative. So negative 3 over 40. So when you have 3 fractions, you just want to break it down. First do the first 2, get an answer, which we got here. Then you move it down, and then you would bring your third fraction in, and then you would repeat the whole process. So that's it. Got questions, let me know. Well, see you later. Bye.